Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to another Cities Skylines tutorial, and in this video you are going to learn everything about that little landscaping tab in Cities Skylines and how to use all of the tools found within it. Whether you play on console or PC, we're going to be going through everything from terraforming to canals. If you're looking for something specific, just scroll through the timestamps down across the video timeline and find exactly what you're looking for. If not, I'm gonna jump right into it with the very first thing that we'll find in the landscaping tab, and that is the landscaping tools. Okay, so the landscaping tools are used to terraform your map in Cities Skylines. Now, terraforming in Cities Skylines is pretty much just changing the topography of your map using these four landscaping tools that you see right here. And you can do a lot with these four tools, so let's go over how they work. The first option we have to choose from is the Shift Terrain tool. Shifting the terrain allows you to raise or lower the land. Real simple, just hold A on Xbox to raise the land and X to lower the land. For PlayStation, that's going to be X to raise it and square to lower it, and for PC, that's going to be right click and left click. From now on, the button translations for everything except for Xbox is going to be in the top left corner of the video. Alright, you are also able to raise and lower the strength and make the point of interest larger or smaller. You can do so by using the up and down arrows on the D-pad for strength and the left and right arrows on the D-pad for size. This allows you to elevate the land faster or slower, but also control how much land you're actually working with. The more strength you have, the harder and faster the land will change, and the bigger you make your brush, the more land you'll actually be working with. This will also correlate for the next three landscaping tools. Speaking of which, the next landscaping tool we have to work with is the Level Terrain tool. Now, what this does is it takes an area that you've chosen based on height and levels whatever piece of land you want to that exact height, hence giving you flat and leveled land. To do this, we will again be using the same buttons, although this time X is to select the land you want to start with, and A is to paint the other land to that level. And again, you can modify the size and strength of your brush to your liking, same as before. Personally, this is my favorite landscaping tool because it's fast and easy and allows me to make a lot of buildable flat land super quickly. I did this for almost my entire map in the Cities Skylines Tropicana series that I have going on right now. But anyway, let's get into the third landscaping tool, and that's going to be the Soften Terrain tool. The Soften Terrain tool is pretty self-explanatory. It simply softens the land. Okay, but what does that mean? Well, it just means that the tool will flatten and slope the land in the neatest way possible to the closest flat area. It's kind of confusing, but basically it makes it so that the land doesn't look like this, but more like this. You know, without the hard cliff texture that you get normally when using landscape tools. You can use this tool by holding A to smooth your land gently, or X for a much stronger effect. Now we are onto the very last landscaping tool, which, at least for me, is the most complicated, and that's the Slope Terrain tool. If you use this correctly, it could be a very useful tool when creating mountains or plateaus on console, but I'll get to that later. For now, the Slope tool. What it does is perfectly slope a terrain for you from a start point to an end point of your choosing. To do this, you'll need to select your endpoint first by pressing X where you want it to be, and then create your start point somewhere with a different height and hold A from that point to your endpoint. Do this back and forth a couple of times and you have a perfect angled slope from your start to your finish. All of these landscaping tools are incredibly useful in their own way, from allowing you to make a man-made lake or even a custom map on console. I'll teach you how to do that in this video up here, so check that out. But without further ado, let's get into the next section that you find under the landscaping tab, and that's going to be paths. Paths are very simple to use, and you probably know how to use them, being that they are created the same ways that you build roads in Cities Skylines. For vanilla Cities Skylines, we only have 2 to 3 options when selecting what kind of path we want to build. We have the cement walking path and the cement bicycle path. I think if you have After Dark, then you also get the dirt path, but it could come with the vanilla game, I'm not sure. And because this concept is so simple, I'm gonna try and teach you something that you may not know about them. For example, when placing a dirt path and you elevate it, it becomes a wooden walkway, great for when you're trying to build a boardwalk on the beach. Another thing in the game that they don't really tell you how to work is the snapping options. Snapping options are just the way that your path or road snaps to things on the map, and this ultimately determines where you can start and end the points of said path. On Xbox, when you hold down Y when you're hovering over a type of path, you'll be brought to this screen with 6 modifying options. Choose the snapping options, and then you will be brought to this screen with 5 path snapping options. They're the same ones you see for roads, so once you know how to do this, you'll be able to mess with stuff all over your city. You will most likely have all of these options turned on if you never mess with this, and you'll know this because the first 4 items are going to be a teal color. To turn them off, you just simply press on them, and then they turn to a darker, grayer blue color. If you're following along on PC, just go to the bottom left where it says toggle snapping. Okay, but what do these 4 options mean? Well, the angle option snaps your paths to certain angles and will tell you what angle you're working with. The road length option will give you a sense of length, and it gives you those blue lines every 10 units. The grid option will automatically connect your path to squares in zoned grids that are next to roads. The road guidelines option is a big one. It gives you those dotted lines and suggestive nodes that will perfectly link you up with where existing paths and roads are. Finally, we have the elevation step option. Toggle this one to change how many steps it takes to get to the top or the bottom when elevating a path, like if you want a long gradual elevation or a steep slope right to max height. My last tip that has to do with paths is put bicycle paths in your city, then go to options and press encourage biking. This reduces traffic quite a bit, so do this if you have some traffic related issues. The next section you will find under the landscaping tab is going to be the trees tab, a very simple yet very important tool when making your city more realistic and adding your own artistic flair. But anyway, let me try and teach you how to use this and give you a tip you can use with the trees tool. As you know, you can place a tree that you have selected just by pressing A, X, or right clicking on PC, but you can also use a tree brush tool to place a ton of trees or delete a ton of trees over larger areas on console. Just use your D-pad on your remote to make the size of the tree brush larger or smaller and the strength weaker or stronger. Although you can't do this on PC, you do have a cursor and almost no limitations as to where you can put your trees, plus you could also just get a tree brush mod. Next up is Vegetation. The Vegetation tab hasn't been around forever, but it's kinda cool. All it is ploppable vegetation that can add some close-up detail to your city. On PC, you can use this tab the same way you would place trees, but on Xbox and PlayStation 4, you can actually use the left and right arrows on your controller's D-pad to rotate the grass. On PC, you can overlap a lot of things with the vegetation, like trees or rocks, but you do need to use the right click of your mouse to rotate it. And the last ploppable section under the landscaping tab is going to be rocks. Rocks are fun because there's a ton to choose from, and there are a lot of ways you can add detail to your city by using them. You can use them on your map the same way you would use trees and vegetations, and on console you can rotate the rocks the same way you would with vegetation. A cool tip for rocks is to use cliffs and caves because first off, they just look cool, and you can also edit the way they look using the landscaping tools we talked about in the beginning of the video. Just something to mess around with, and here's an example of when I did this on my how to make a mountain tutorial. Okay, now that that's over, we're finally onto the final section of our landscaping tab, and that's going to be the water structures. Canals are fun and useful, and while I haven't used them too much and don't often include them into my cities, I do know how to use them, plus the quays and flood walls that go with them. So, depending on how deep you want your canal to be, you can either choose a shallow canal, a medium canal, or a deep canal. Each of these canals will automatically create pathways that ferries can use. The shallow canal will only select a small amount of water so that you can regulate the flow of water. The medium canals can be used in areas where shallow canals are not deep enough to get enough water, and the deep canals can be used to handle tons of water. The process of building these is very simple, and it's done the same way that you would build a road or a pathway, just like we talked about before in this video. Just place the start point where you want your canal to be and then drag it as far as you can into your water source before it restricts you from building it. You could also make some really cool canal cities, but I'll leave that up to your imagination. The last two things here are the quays and the flood walls. Flood walls go hand in hand with the canals. They stick to canals when you place them on the ground and can be built to keep water in a canal if it keeps flooding. But I guess you could also build these to protect against a tsunami. I don't know. You do you. Last but not least, we have quays or quays, how I used to call them. I'm not sure how you say it. They just really look cool and add a finishing touch to the coast of your city. I am definitely going to use this in the Tropicana series I'm currently recording, so be sure to check that out if you're looking for some more examples. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comment section down below, and if you want to learn more about landscaping, be sure to check out this City Skylines landscaping playlist right here. If not, that's going to be it for now, and I'll see you in the next video.